Before we move on to unwrapping, let's go ahead and add the eyeballs for our character. And remember that we are going to be using the MetaHuman eyeballs. So I want you guys to open up Unreal Engine. If you have not downloaded Unreal Engine yet, then go to the unrealengine.com website and download this for free. And once you open it up, you're going to see this project browser here. Let's go to games right here. And then you're going to go to third person. Go ahead and turn on starter content because later on we are going to need the third person controller. For the project location, just click on this folder here and let Unreal Engine know where you want to save your work. And of course, just go ahead and give it a name. I'm going to just call it Michael B. Whatever you want it to be named. And then hit on create and it's going to load up. Just wait for a few minutes. Once you open it up, you're going to see this user interface. If this is your first time using Unreal Engine, you're going to see at the bottom left the content drawer. Go ahead and click on that. And if you click away from it and click on the viewport, it's going to go away. If you want the content drawer to stay there without auto hiding, just click on it and then you're going to see dock and layout. Click on that. Alright, so now this is not going to go away. You could hover your mouse over here and just drag it down if it's too large. This part of this content browser is very important because this is where you're going to put your materials and your assets and things like that later on. Alright, so let's go ahead and find our MetaHuman that we want to use. We want to use the eyeballs for one of the MetaHumans. To access the MetaHumans, you're going to see this plus arrow right here and there's a drop down symbol right here. Just click on it and then you're gonna see Quixel Bridge. Click on Quixel Bridge and then Quixel Bridge is this window's gonna load up and it might take some time and then you need to log in here. You have to sign in. Click on sign in and I'm gonna sign in with my Facebook account. You could sign in any way you want. You could sign in with all of these other options, but I'm gonna sign in with that. Now, once you are all signed in, on the left side here, there are some assets here that you could take a look at. And the one that we are concerned with right now is going to be the MetaHuman section. So go ahead and click on that. Alright, so it's going to load up all the available MetaHumans here. And feel free to look at all of these and see which eyes of the character that you would like to use for your own character. I know that for Michael B. Jordan, my subject, he has dark brown eyes. So, maybe, let me see here. I'm gonna check this out. Maybe that's probably a good one. Or, even this is a good one, I think. Yeah, really any of these darker eyes would be fine. I think this would be good. So once you found something that you like, just click on, you're gonna see that at the bottom it says download. You see the arrow here and you have an option here. Right now, the option is only highest quality, which is fine. Let's click on download and just wait for a bit. I'm gonna pause this video as it is downloading. And once it's done downloading, you're gonna go click on where it says add, that plus sign right there. And just wait patiently as it imports everything onto Unreal. Alright, I actually had to go back and click the add button again. And what you need to do is, it's telling us that it's missing some plugins and some project settings. Just make sure you click on enable missing, and we should be good to go. And then we need to make sure that we click a restart now. It's going to ask us this, restart. Okay, now once Unreal Engine opens up again, you're going to go to your content browser here and you're going to go to the MetaHumans folder here. Alright, so let's go to our MetaHumans to access our character. And the name of the MetaHuman for me is Emmanuel, so I'm going to click on that. And then let's go to the face folder. And then you're going to see that there's this character's face along with a little bit of the shoulder here. This is actually what we need to export out, so we could put it in our Blender file, and then we're going to grab the eyeballs from here. Okay, so to export this out, just right click here, and then you're going to go to Asset Actions, and then you're going to go to Export, and go ahead and think about where you want to go and save it. So I'm going to save it in my FBX folder here, and it's an FBX file. This is going to be the name, but I'm going to go ahead and name it something else. I'm going to call it eyeball_unreal and hit on save. And then just go ahead and click export, leave every setting as is. I need you guys to get in the habit of saving your work. So if you go to File, Save Current Level As, go ahead and save your map already, because later on we are going to go back to this Unreal Engine file. So I'm name mine to Michael B map, and just hit save and go to File. I want you guys to also get in the habit on always clicking Save All here. That way you're saving everything else in your scene that you have added onto the content browser. Very important to do that. Another significant thing that I want to show you is if you go to Edit, go to Project Settings right here, and you guys go to Maps and Modes here. Whenever we open up Unreal Engine, we want to be able to go to the last project we were working on. So we go to Editor, Startup Map. We could just click on the drop-down arrow, and we could choose the map that we have already saved, which is, to me, is the Michael B map right here. So next time I open this up, that's going to be the one that's going to show. This map is the one that's going to show here in the viewport. Alright, and let me save it one more time. Now let's go ahead and import the mesh that we have exported out of Unreal. Let's go to File, Import FBX, and I'm going to go to my FBX folder here, eyeball unreal.fbx, and just wait for a bit as it loads. And we have something that kind of looks like Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy. Okay, so we have the mesh here that came from Unreal Engine along with the bones. What we need to do is we actually need to unlink the bones here. So you go ahead and select the bones, and yeah, let's go ahead and delete that. And you're probably wondering, where did the geometry go? So if you go to the collection, and you're gonna see there's the LOD0, LOD1, different levels of details for the mesh that came from Unreal Engine. We could just go ahead and select any of these LODs here and press dot on your numpad, and you can see now you are zoomed in onto the mesh. And since we deleted the bones, everything just got bigger, right? So what we need to do is we have to scale this back so that it's back to the original size when it came in with the bones. First off, we need to remove all these LODs. We just need to keep one. So these are different levels of details. We have LOD0, which is the lowest poly, LOD1, which is still low poly but not as high, and LOD7 is the highest. Okay, so we don't want something this high, LOD7, and we could just remove LOD2 to 7, delete those. And then LOD0, we don't need that. So I think this is a good spot here. We hit the tab key. It's not that dense. The face here is going to be more for games, if you're doing like AAA games. And also the eye is pretty good. If we go and select, if you go and hit the tab key and hover your mouse over here, press L, we could just delete this here, delete the faces. So now we see the eyeballs. We actually gonna need these eyeballs. All right, so let's go and hover our mouse over here, press L and press L, and if you go ahead and press G to zoom to move it out, you can see this is what we're going to be using. Okay, all right, now what we need to do is we need to first make sure that this is scaled back down to how it was when we first imported it. Let's go back to our object mode, and let's go to our tab here for our transform and the scale. let's go ahead and select everything and then 0.01 for the X, Y, and Z and press enter. Press down on your numpad to zoom in again. So now you can see it's back to its original size when we first imported it here. Hit the tab key. We all just gonna need the eyeballs. So we could just use one eyeball and we could just duplicate on the other side after we place it where it's supposed to go in our character. Hover our mouse over here, press L, and yeah, hover our mouse. Yeah, I'm just going to separate it. Press P, separate by selection. So now we could just select this head here and just delete it. So now we have the eyeball that we need, and we go to our object, set origin to geometry. That way, if we go to the move tool, it's right there, and we could move it a lot easier. We could go ahead and move it up, and then go ahead and move it back. Now, I think it'll be great for us if we could look at the wireframe. So go to viewport overlay and click on wireframe. That way, we're able to see and use this as a guide for where the iris is gonna be. And just gonna do this. Alright, and we could go ahead and just scale it up slightly. Alright. Okay, and just gonna move it this way. So you really want to have a little thickness there for the eyelids, because that's how it is in real life. We have a little thickness looking from the top and looking from the bottom. And we could go ahead and kind of move this up. Alright. And we can kind of see better what's going on here. Okay, that's fine. I think later on we could actually put our pink part of the eye, and we could further adjust the eyeballs later. But I think just having an eyeball there, and then we could check it on Unreal later, will work. And we could also kind of rotate it if we need to. I'm gonna rotate it like this, a bit down. Also, I see there's like some strange shading issues here. I'm gonna go back to the character's head, hit the tab key, Control R, and just add the loop right here. I think this will be better anyways later on for the eyelids. And I'm gonna go ahead and copy the factor, Control C. And I'm gonna do the same thing here. I'm gonna Control R and then paste that factor that I had on the other side, from the other side, like that. Okay, and I think we could, yeah, that's fine. Maybe later on we could add another loop in here, just so we have more of a sharpened eyelid. Okay, so back on the eyeball here, I think I could kind of move it down actually. Alright, I think this will probably work. Okay, now that you have that there, we could, if we go to the move tool, you see how it's right there. We need to make sure it's in the middle of the grid before we mirror it on the other side. We go set origin to 3D cursor, and then we could add a mirror on this. And I see that there's still the root from the bones, so I'm just gonna go ahead and remove this modifier from the eyeball, and I'm gonna add a mirror modifier. Okay, great. And if we hit the tab key and select our meshes here, you can see that the UVs, there are already UVs in there. Do not move the UVs here, because when we put it back in Unreal Engine, we're going to be using the material that came with this mesh right here, okay? And yeah, the material is going to be matching our geometry that we have for our UVs that came with the original MetaHuman character. All right, so yeah, just keep it the UVs like that. It'll be fine. All right, and so that is it for our eyeballs. Now we could even test this out if you like. We could go select our mesh here, all right, and with our, this, you have to do this in order, okay? So we have to select our mesh first, and then select our eyeball, and then you could combine it. That way, if we do it that way, it's not going to remove the UVs for the eyeballs. And we could also just collapse the mirror first before we combine it. So selecting our head and then our eyeballs, and then Control J. And you could double check everything. If I hit the tab key, you can see that the UVs for the eyeballs are still there, okay? So remember, for the material to work, the eye material that we're going to be using in Unreal Engine to work with the eyes, you need to have the UVs, the original UVs that came with this, all right? Okay, now we could go ahead and export this out, and we could kind of test out the eyes and how it looks like in Unreal Engine. I could go to Export, FBX, and I'm going to go to my FBX folder and selected objects. Make sure you select the objects, turn on, and I'm just going to put eye preview for FBX. And it's good for us to just test it out. I think it'll be cool just to see how it works. And before we export this out, we need to make sure that we have a material assigned to our eyeballs, specifically assigned for our eyeballs. So let's go back to edit mode and go to face selection, hover our mouse over our eyeballs here. And let's go create a brand new material. Click on the plus sign here. And then let's go and click new. And we could go ahead and rename it eye test. All right. And then let's go click on assign. So it'll assign it to the faces here. There you go. All right, so now that's good to go. Let's go ahead and export this out. Back in Unreal Engine, we could go to our character folder and import our mesh here. We could right click, import to games character, and yeah, the eye preview right here. I'm gonna go and import that in and just click on import all. And it's just saying about the smoothing group. We could just ignore that. That's not going to affect our character. And click exit. Alright, now we have our character right here. And then we have the materials that we have added to our character. Remember, we have the eye test, the material that we have added specifically for the eyes. This is very important because we are going to replace this with the eye material that came with the MetaHuman. Let's go ahead and drag this mesh of our character onto the scene. You could press F to zoom in. Alright. And yeah, you could hold the Alt key and the middle mouse button to pan to the left, pan to the right. If you want to zoom in, hold the Alt key and the right click to just zoom in like this. And you could also go to your arrow keys on your keyboard to zoom in and zoom out, okay? And if that is too fast for you, if it's moving too fast, you could go over here to the camera speed and you could crank up the value or bring it down to adjust how far or how fast you are moving. All right. But yeah, you could go ahead and if you want to rotate and navigate, just hold the Alt key and the right click, hold the Alt key and the left click on your mouse to just navigate in the scene, rotate the scene like this. All right, so now, how do we add the material for the eyes here? Okay, so if you guys go to your MetaHumans folder and just go to your character that you have downloaded, and then you're going to see body and face, just go to face, and let's go to our materials, and you're going to see MI, eye refractive instance, MI refractive instance here, right? You see that? We're actually going to be using this and applying it onto our eyeballs here. So let's select our character mesh, and our character mesh, remember we have two materials applied to it. One is going to be for the eyes that we have added, and the other is just the topology color. Remember when we were topologizing, or we're adding material to everything that we ever topologized. So we are going to replace the material that we have added for the eyes. We're going to replace it with the one that came with the MetaHuman character, okay? So with our material here selected, MI, eye refractive instance, you go to your element where you have your eye material from Blender, and then you're going to see an arrow here, use selected from content browser, click on it. All right, so now the eyes are there, and it's pretty cool because what you could do with this is you could go ahead and double click on the eyeballs here, and then you're going to see a window, and then you could change the properties for the eyes here. So let's say the iris is too small or too large, you could go to the iris section here and scroll down. You see the iris UV radius. You can mess around with the value there. You could even change the pupil scale, make it larger or smaller, move it up, down. You could mess around with other properties here if you like. You could also adjust the sclera. So you see the white part of the eye, maybe you think that it's too pinkish, it looks like he's on drugs. You can go to the sclera brightness and crank up this so that it looks cleaner, it doesn't look like he's high. All right, so it's up to you how much reddish you want this to be, right? And you could even change the color of the iris, I believe. You go to the iris saturation, you could kind of change that up. If I make it more saturated, you could see it's turning red, and then you could bring it to the left, turn more green. You could also turn any of these options on to just kind of mess around with the eyes overall. If you know you're gonna mess around with the eyes here and later on you're gonna need this eyeball later on for other characters, I suggest that you create an instance for this. You just right click and create a material instance and give it a different name, and then adjust the material from there. If you know later on you're gonna need this default eyeball. Alright, so I just want to show you guys this eyeball, and this is actually what we're gonna be using later on in Unreal. I'm just gonna go ahead and just delete that. And so back to Blender. All right, and we are going to have to do some unwrapping here, and I think before we do that we have to further work on the eyes here, and we have to add our sclera. We have to add the pink part of the eye here, all right, the corner, and also we have to add the wet part of the eye that makes it shiny, the tear duct. And I'll see you guys in the next video.